Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to Hello, It's Best to Talk. Now, this week is National Inclusion Week, and that's one reason out of many that I'm so thrilled to be talking to DJ or Maneeta, who is actually in New Zealand at the moment. So normally he's based in the UK, in London, and he runs this incredible company. So if you ever fancy looking around London in a very different way, Maneeta will give you that experience. So he's with his family at the moment. You're actually in New Zealand, which is like, I think one of the countries that everybody now wants to live in and be governed by the Prime Minister of New Zealand, because they seem to have made so many better decisions. But anyway, DJ, tell us your story and welcome.
Hi. So about Drag Around London, I assume you mean if I tell you my whole story, I think we'll be here for a few hours.
Oh, well, give us a few glimpses into. I mean, maybe. So when did you feel that you want this is what you wanted to do? That you wanted to be a drag queen?
I came up. So I was sitting at a coffee shop in Shoreditch, like as it's like starting the story like that makes me sound like such a hipster, but unfortunately that is where the idea came from. I was just sitting there and I was chatting with my friend, and we were catching up, and I was like, wouldn't it be great if there were walking tours that were led by drag queens? And this was weirdly enough, this was before I'd ever watched RuPaul's Drag Race. I think my exposure to drag queens had been in drag bars and stuff, and I just loved the whole drama of it. I always loved drama and acting and all of that, and I wrote plays in high school, in university, and always did the high school play and stuff like that. So I was that kid, and but I came up with this idea, and then I was like, I want to see this happen, and I imagine it wouldn't be too difficult to do it. Famous last words, and. Then ended up I ended up partnering with my business partner Graham, who saw me trying to do this and was like, I want to help you do this. And then our initial plan was, we'll go to established drag queens and ask them to do this with us. And most of them just weren't taking us seriously, because they were like, why would I walk around for 2 hours in drag? And Graham had done the tiniest bit of drag before, had done some drag in a bar in Reading, but very, very small amount. And I dressed in drag once for a birthday party. I did a drag themed birthday party, and then so we weren't really drag performers at that point. But then we were like I loved acting, and Graham loved doing the drag when he did it. So it's like, well, we could do this. We're organized, and we could create a tour. And so we created the first one, the Westminster tour. And initially the plan had been, we'll do it, prove that it can happen and that it can make money, and then drag performers will join us. But then once they started doing it, it was like, oh no, this is far too much fun. We can't give this up now. So then we like Dragged Around London was born, and then we met Elliot, who's our other business partner now. The three of us run Dragged Around London, and Elliot joined us and created one of our first tours, which was a Hallowe'en tour, where they did like a little ghost tour, and they were like a little coven of witches with the other people who were attending the tour, and they were casting spells at different stops to summon ghosts, and it was so campy and fun. And
did it work? Did you get some extra, from beyond the grave? Did you have any visitors?
I think so. It's hard to tell with Ivana, who is Elliot's drag persona. It's hard to tell when she's possessed or whether she's just being normal. But no, it was a great tour. We had so much fun, and because me and Graham really loved working with her during that tour, we were like, do you want to join Drag Around London and work with us to build it? And so and since then we now got a group of like 25 performers or something, and we're actually just posted our first ad for an operational team member to join us. So that was 4 years ago was when we started, and now we're finally here at hiring someone to join us, and it's growing up slowly but surely, and we've got loads of products now. We've got 3 different walking tours with another one being built. We've got we read stories to children. We do bus tours. What else are we doing? We're building a digital murder mystery, which will have drag performers kind of being the characters in the story, and it's like a point and click adventure, which I'm so excited about.
Oh yeah, no, it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. So if I can talk to you about Maneeta, who's your drag queen, and what she's like. So how she was born. I mean, I'm kind of like I just went to see recently. Everybody's talking about Jamie, which is now in the West End and is based in Sheffield, and that's about, as listeners may not know, about a 16-year-old boy in Sheffield, which is where I went to school, who wants to be a drag queen, and then his battles to become me. But so what about Maneeta? How did you find your way into her, if that's the right question?
Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't seen everybody's talking about Jamie yet. I will, but I think my story might be a little different in terms of like Maneeta came as a result of wanting to do this business, and wanting to see drag on the streets of London, and like I think doing Drag Around London, when me and Graham sat down to say like, okay, well, why are we doing this, and what is it that drag means to us, and what is the culture we want to set for Drag Around London? What we realized is that Drag Around London was all about bringing drag into the light of day. It was, lots of drag is kind of like in bars and at nighttime, and not very family friendly. And at the time it was like that. I think drag has grown up so much in the last 4 years, and I like to think we've been a part of that. And
Great.
And so Maneeta herself was kind of born out of wanting to do the tours. So I think a lot of Maneeta is about taking people on really like fun, silly adventures on the streets, and being that bit of spectacle. I think that's a big part of the tours, is being a spectacle on the street, and kind of showing that we can be whoever we want to be, wherever we want to be it. As long as we're not hurting anyone, right? So, so I think Maneeta's a lot of loud drama, which is also DJ. Let's be honest, but also like Maneeta's, a lot of Maneeta's outfits are hand-me-downs from my sister, because my sister used to be a bit fatter, and then she lost weight, and so she had all these beautiful like Indian outfits and dresses that she no longer could wear, and so passed them to me because I could wear them. And so I think there's a bit of my sister's style embedded in Maneeta, just out of the dresses that I'm using.
Yeah, absolutely. How does your sister feel about Maneeta?
Oh, she loves it. My family have been incredibly supportive.
Great.
And I think like my parents didn't quite understand it at first. They didn't know what it was, and they weren't negative about it. It was just they'd not been introduced to this, but they've been so great about learning and understanding. And I was teaching my mum about like they them pronouns just now. It was quite fun. And so it's really nice to have a family that's willing and open to learn and support what I'm doing when it's just completely outside of their world normally.
Yeah, and it is wonderful to hear that your family have been so supportive. I think that's one of the things that I feel is just absolutely vital, that we are, we work towards self-acceptance and acceptance of others and embracing that. And I just love this concept about, bringing drag into the light of day, and then giving people an amazing time going around, mincing around London.
Yeah.
There was sorry, go on.
Well, it's also just on the family point. I think it's really important that when we were building Dragged Around London, like we have this family charter, and we created it as a document to tell new performers joining us like what kind of culture we were setting, and we call it a family charter because in drag culture, a lot of the time, there's a drag mother and a drag baby, and the drag mother kind of helps the baby learn how to do drag. And me and Graham didn't really have a drag mother. We kind of learned by partnering with the performers that have joined us. A lot of them were much more experienced than we were, and so it's kind of more of a sisterhood and a family. one of our, like Elliot, came from, you know, not so supportive family, and was in fact kicked out of the house when he was quite young, and so we've become his family, and I think it's really important that our business is not just a business, but it is a community that we're trying to nurture and build and support each other. And you know, because a lot of people are not as lucky as I am, unfortunately, and don't have the kind of family I have. And so I think supporting each other through like shared experience is so important. And like in the theme of National Inclusion Week, it's just because also the drag community has notoriously in recent past had a lot of conflict around who is included in drag, and you know, the all drag is valid is a big like discussion point, and it's a big thing where we like to emphasize is that every form of drag is what we accept and want as a part of Drag Around London. Great.
That sounds wonderful. So tell us one of your, I'm putting you on the spot here, DJ, but tell us one of the funniest stories that's happened when you've been going around London, and you know, what's happened.
Well,
you must have a bank of them.
So maybe not so funny, but definitely dramatic was how we made the Going Down South tour, which was the third tour we created. Was initially we had this hen do of 25 people had booked a Westminster tour, and then on a Saturday, on the Thursday night, I was emailing the venue where we go get changed, which is Halfway to Heaven. They've been so great about letting us change there before our tours and change out of drag in their changing room that they have there, because they have drag every night at Halfway to Heaven. And but yeah, I was emailing them about us coming in, blah blah blah, and they were like, "Oh, you know that there we're going to be closed on Saturday because there's a EDL protest happening in Trafalgar Square," and we're like, Oh, we can't really mince through an EDL protest with 25 people. I don't think that's something we're going to manage. So it was like complete panic mode on Friday, because we emailed the clients and we're like, you know, like, we're really sorry, but we can't do that. We can't put you guys in danger. We're happy to refund you. And they were like, but I've got 20 people flying into London for a hen do. What do I do now? And so we messaged our little group of performers that were like, brainstorm time. What the hell can we do for these people? And then I was like, okay, what do I do when people are visiting London? Where do I take them? And I was like, okay, we walk down South Bank. Like, there's lots to do in South Bank. I know South Bank really well. Let's do South Bank. I was like, okay, we can build a tour in a day. Like, so to give you context as well, the first tour that we built, me and Graham spent like 2 weeks like discussing the route, and then we went and walked the route, made sure that everything was like, you know, possible to walk around and what we'd say in each place, and then we spent a day building this Going Down South tour. We created a Google Doc. I put it in there, and I was like, okay, everyone, I've put these stops that I know are along South Bank. Go and research stuff that I can say about these places, and please put it into this document for me. And then I was furiously emailing the client to say, like, okay, we can start here and end here. Is that okay? Blah, blah, blah. And we built it. We did it. We totally built this tour and managed to deliver it. And it was so much fun. And I think there was an element of improvisation that makes it a whole lot more fun, you know, because it's not so planned and rehearsed and practiced. It became a little bit fun to just like, and I guess full of adrenaline, you know, doing this tour that I'd not planned properly at all. So it was crazy dramatic, but it was a lot of fun.
Great. And everybody didn't get hurt as well, because I can imagine going through EDL would have been pretty ballsy, or worked like mad. Nothing to do. Have you experienced much kind of prejudice when you're going around? Do you get catcalls, or I don't know, anything that happens to you?
So it's definitely not a frequent occurrence, but it definitely has happened. And like there's been once or twice where I've noticed it, where like people will be like, woo, and then I'll be like, yeah, you know, like especially group gaggles of men. But there was the one time that really sticks in my mind, because I felt so awful, because the one of the participants said to me, oh my God, did you see that parent? And I was like, no. And they were like, they took their child and like hid their eyes as we went by.
Oh,
and I was like, oh God, that's so horrible. Like that poor child is going to be so like deprived of diversity. Like lived in London and just, and I just find that like strange for one, but I didn't notice it at the time. But then but I felt bad that the participants had noticed it, and I was afraid that you know, they would feel like that marred the experience. But I
think it's a very honest thing, you know. I think it's and it's probably will create conversation around that, about, you know, why that parent decided that they needed to do that, and you know, I mean, everything that happens, we can kind of build positive experiences about it, but by and large, your experiences have been really positive about I mean, because it just looks such fun. In fact, my daughter's getting married next year, and I'm just starting to think that would be an amazing hen party.
We do so many hen parties, and we love them so much. Like the vast majority of our hen parties have been amazing. I mean, there have been one or two where the people have been maybe a little bit too inebriated to enjoy the experience, but they've been few and far between. And but yeah, on the whole, the experience of being out on the street in drag has been such great. Like you'll have people going, yes, queen, you know, as we walk by, and I think one of the comments that I really love, and I think most of our participants would agree with, is that it feels a little bit like a mini pride parade. And you get that feeling of being in the parade, which we did once. I think it was 2 years ago. We marched with the Outside Project, which is the LGBTQI homeless community interest company that we support. They were walking in Pride, and we joined them, and there's just a really different feeling when you're in the parade as opposed to watching it, and we get a little bit of that experience in the drag, because we get everyone to wear these rainbow sashes, so that mainly so that we can make sure we can identify our group in the crowd.
Absolutely, count them out, count them in.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
But I think those rainbow sashes kind of give that feeling of like we're a little parade, and like everybody look at us.
Sounds absolutely wonderful. Well, DJ, thank you so much for staying up tonight and in New Zealand, or you know, you probably actually still got a few hours to go, haven't you? But but, you know, for this recording, and great, you know, just carry on being out there and showing people that we can all be accepted for who we are and have immense fun with it. So, DJ, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I can come back anytime. I love gabbing on about stuff.
I think you're on. I'll come back. Okay, thanks so much. And then, so bye, everybody. It's been lovely having you, and it's so fascinating to listen to DJ's story. And hit the subscribe button, which is down there, so you'll be notified of next week's topic, which is all about talking about how we get men to talk about their feelings. That's going to be an interesting one. Okay, thank you, and bye-bye.